Today we are going to talk about the topic I'm pretty excited about. It's a pillar, not the main pillar of Grammarly product strategy, but still. I see this topic being quite strategic, quite visionary, quite mindset-like, but I do use it daily and in tactics, and this is how I think about things. So, small introduction. I've been around. I've been involved in several businesses, my own and not. I've participated or managed e-commerce, media, B2B and B2C SaaS businesses. Now I work at a company called Grammarly. We'll talk about it a bit later. I also am a founder of, as we call it here, KPP, but it's Кружок продуктовых процессуалистов, a small community focused on process culture in tech. And I also teach product management. So, what's the agenda? Today we are going to talk about what is friction, how giants like Google, Uber, and Spotify leveraged this topic or this notion, and how Grammarly uses friction to and how thinks about friction in its product strategy. So let's talk about humans first. Imagine yourself in a, let's say, Roman Empire. How do you think did people want the same things as we want now? You can answer or shout, please do. I feel uncomfortable. Yes or no? Okay, it was uncomfortable, I'm sorry. So the answer is yes. Evolution shaped humans in a way that we all want the same things, and it's around 300 of those things. So those things being goals and planning, theater, salt, sugar, fatty foods, hunting and gathering, oral language. As you can see in the picture, there's superstition, vertical that is not covered by tech right now, and it's a good opportunity for you to tackle. So what is friction, basically? Friction is a design term. UX people use it to talk about barriers or obstacles that user experience on their way to their goal inside an interface. But if we would go deeper into this topic or look at it wider, people have different goals and they are not only limited to the interface they're in. So what kind of barriers or what kind of friction there is? Basically, there's only two types of friction or two types of barriers. It's time or money. There's no other barriers that you experience on your way to the goal. So let's talk about me and my experience with the products you all know. So imagine me, I'm a 9-year-old kid and I went abroad and I heard that a library nearby has internet in it. So I came in, I turn on the computer and I see familiar interface. I already had computer at my home. I turn it on. For some reason, I knew that there's yahoo.com. I don't know where from. I type it in, and what do I see? I see very interesting things from the standpoint of 9-year-old kid. Yes, I see weather. I see email client. I see, let's say, messaging. I see some board that sells something. So I was very excited, yeah, like any 9-year-old kid would. I went there a couple of times more, but nothing interesting in the internet right there. So after that, I got introduced to Google, and it was revelation to me. So you could actually find stuff that you're interested in. And how would you do this prior to Google? You would search for something for longer periods of time. So Google was major time-saving machine. So it did not provide any new value to you. It only provided you time that you can spend on some other things. Let's take a look at other example. Uber. On the slide there, you can see my phone book. I found it, and the search term of taxi. So I think most of you had the same experience. So you have lists of taxis. So how would you go from point A to point B? You would usually call this number. It won't work. You call the next one. Okay, it works. Then you call you name the where you at, where you want to go. They name you the they name you the price, and there's the key phrase that you should always hear: "Выходите без звоночка." Okay, and after that, you cannot find driver and all the other stuff with changing money in the nearby kiosk and stuff like that. So what and how my trip today looks like? I just pick up my phone, I type in where I want to go, click OK, put it back in my pocket. Then in a couple of minutes notification comes, I see that driver is here, I get to the cab and go to the point B. No hustle, no money transferring, no nothing. So how do you think, is it time or money saving? Now that you know the concept. I would not agree that it is both, because I pay much more now for the taxi than I used to. I think you can relate to that. But yeah, it saves lots of time, and it saves lots of non-productive time that I'm paying for the ride from point A to point B. It saves me lots of time around it, non-productive time. So let's take a look at another example. Who can name what the site is on the background? Someone sitting in front rows? There was a site called Zaitsevnet in my childhood. I don't know if it still exists or not. So how would my listening to the music look like? So someone would, I would hear a song on a television. There's such thing, or at least was such thing. You should figure out the name of the song. Then you go to your computer, you go to the Zaitsevnet, you type in the name, you find the song, you download it. It's another file, it's a completely different song. You go again, you download it once again, you upload it to you try to upload it to your 256 megabyte MP3 player, but there's no space out there, so there's no, and you delete something, upload it once again, and then you can listen to the music. So how is it looking for me right now? So for the last years, I don't know the name of the artist anymore. I don't know the name of the songs. I just pick up my phone, see what's there recommended to me, click on it and listen. This is the way I consume music right now. So how do you think what it saves me? Time or money? Thank you. I was expecting that answer because we are a country from Eastern Europe and torrent raised. Yes, for our society usually it's time, but for those who paid for iTunes music it's also money. Yes, for sure. So you've seen the general idea. Let's talk about Grammarly and what Grammarly does and how it used this notion. What Grammarly is, or what we do. So Grammarly is a writing assistant that helps make your communication clear and effective wherever you write. Is there someone here that doesn't know what Grammarly does? Raise their hands. Okay, so we are a communication assistant, basically. We are there on 10 platforms. We have add-ins for major browsers. We have keyboards for Android and iOS. We have web interface. We have add-ins for Microsoft Word and Outlook. Our numbers right now are, we have like more than 15 million daily active users at this point. So I want you to look at our interface. It's early 2013, what we were. We already solved a major problem for our customers. We were in like hundreds of thousands of users right at that point. But there were barriers on how people could use our software. So what was the problem number one? We all know as SaaS people that it's two completely different tasks when it's activation or consideration stage and when it's actually usage. So we had a problem that the price of trying our product was very high. You should actually buy it. So how do you think what we did? Any ideas? Yes, thank you. So back then it was not as obvious of a decision as it is now, and especially in our market. But we went with it, and now freemium business drove our conversions, and actually free users are now core of our usage base. So how do you think? Is it we save them money or time? High price, I just like to remind you. Yeah, we didn't save them any time, but we saved them lots of money on this decision-making process. Let's talk about another problem. There was too many useless actions. As in Uber case, what you had to do was, let's say you're writing an email, and you compose an email, let's say in Gmail, then you copy it, open another tab, open Grammarly, paste it there, correct it there, copy it, paste back, see if the formatting is there, and then send. How do you think how we solve this problem? Cannot hear you, please shout. Yes, thank you. Extension, yes, a pretty obvious decision. Now, maybe you've seen this interface before. Now, you don't need to copy and paste constantly. It works in the background. You just turn it on, and it works without any extra actions from you, and we save you lots of what? Thank you. Yes, we save you lots of time by this. We do not provide here any additional value to what our product offered before. So what was problem number 3? We've seen that with this shift of platforms and how users write and how they work, we see this big problem of communicating effectively on the road. So I think you could like name obvious decision what we've done. What we've done. Yes, thank you. We've done mobile keyboard. And it's actually interesting that it's pretty obvious that if you want to have something on the go or something on your mobile phone, that it has to be an app, basically, yes? And the most obvious decision would be like to create just an app, an editor in your phone. But why we decided to go with keyboard? Yes, thank you. If you would compare keyboard to an app, you would see that the keyboard is actually an extension inside mobile phone comparing to the editor. You don't have to copy and paste anything. You can just write, and it automatically corrects your mistakes, or you can automatically get to the value we are providing you. So what's the punchline here? What I want you to do. So how your process looks now, how you actually create a backlog. You have pool of hypotheses, and you mingle them around, find solutions, and put it into the backlog. If we go pretty tactical. What I would like you to do is to consider other form. So basically, it's very hard for you to compare value features that all people tend to go toward and friction features that tell us about the actual problems in terms of getting to that value. And I would like you to separate them, create separate backlogs for them, and then, only then, go towards the actual backlog. It would help you compare them much easily, and it would help you provide an extra value. And what I see quite often that on the early stages, people usually go towards value features. But what I'm seeing happening rarely is people going towards friction features. So I would like you to think more about that. So if we go more strategic, if you only have like a strategy decision to make, not interface stuff, not feature stuff, I would like you to think about your primarily value. And in this value, when you formulate it, you will see that there's obstacles to get to it. And you should write down all of them. Like, for you to use your SaaS business, you need to have a computer, you need to have a browser, you need to have an internet, you need to have a credit card, you need to be in some region of the world, you need to talk English, and all the other stuff that stops people from using your platform. And figure out the hypothesis you could break one of those obstacles or reduce them, and start from there. Thank you all for your time. I'm pretty humbled to be here. Thanks.